NBC Soccer Pub edition of Bet the Edge. Today, I'm going to talk to Tim Howard, the most capped US goalkeeper in history, Everton legend. And we're going to hit some best bets with Brad Thomas at the end as well. But without further ado, let's bring in Tim. Tim, it's great to see you again. I think I haven't seen you since FanFest in Philly, which was quite a time. And at that point, Premier League was looking a little bit better for Arsenal, but let's get straight into that game from yesterday, biggest game of the season. What was your main takeaway from Arsenal Man City?
Yeah, Jay, good to see you again. It has been a while, and thanks for having me on. My takeaway from yesterday was what a game of football. I mean, we knew it was going to be. I think the disappointing part was Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta, the head coach, talked about it after the game. They gave that game to Manchester City. They dominated the possession, which we haven't seen very often for teams playing against City, created the better chances, and then they just squandered away goals in the back. And, of course, you're playing against Manchester City. So they're going to punish you for that. So it's a good game of football. Obviously, the edge is now tilted toward Manchester City in terms of momentum. But I think if you're Arsenal, you're coming away from that disappointed but feeling good. You know, and the reason I say feeling good is because those are world-class players, and they know if they can replicate that, they should be, hopefully the mistakes won't happen again. Because it would be a different story if they completely got brushed aside by Manchester City. Then they'd be scratching their head thinking, what can we do? But they played really well.
Yeah, it was a strange game where in the first half, Arsenal kind of dominated the game. They controlled possession, and it was just that one unfortunate mistake from Tomiyasu where I think the image of his face as he realizes that he's hit the pass short, that's going to live on forever if City do go on to win the title. Yes. What do you think changed in the second half that allowed Man City to kind of reassert control?
Well, you're talking about two incredibly intelligent tactical managers, Pep probably being the greatest in the world, right? And Mikel Arteta, his protege and disciple. So Pep's always going to make in-game changes. We saw him pull his players over and have a discussion with them. Even like during one of the players got injured and he was talking tactics. So when he went in at halftime, I think it was more about where they got pressure. Pep is really big on how they press teams and what positions of the field they want to put them in. And I think they did a better job of that. He ended up taking off Mahrez, took Bernardo Silva out of that weird hybrid left back position, put him on the right-hand side, then actually brought in Akanji, a traditional defender, and kind of went a little bit more flat four in the back, which gave them some stability. And again, with Pep, he's brilliant at game planning, at in-game management. And so it wasn't a surprise that they came out in the second half and things changed.
Yeah, I thought that was a strange move to start playing Bernardo Silva at left back, not really his accustomed role. Kind of reminded me of the Champions League tie against Lyon a couple of years ago, where it's like, what are you doing with the formation here? What are you doing with the players, Pep? But do you think that's something that City will do going forward? Because it really did feel that when they shifted Bernardo Silva to right wing, when they got that more solid back four, that they just looked like the unstoppable Terminator machine, Man City.
Yeah, Jay, it's so hard to get inside the brain of Pep because he's got this beautiful mind and he's got all these metrics flying around and tactics and formations. And I think rightfully so, when you have the best players in the world and you're drilling them every single day and you're hard on them and you win everything, I do think you have to throw wrinkles at them. I think you have to get their minds to continue to be fresh and throw new ideas at them because they are ultimate footballers and they can play on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, the front of the back. I do believe you have to continue to do that. Otherwise, it just becomes monotonous. And we've seen City get in that groove where it's a training session. They don't get out of first gear. They brush teams aside. And so I think you were going to always see that with Pep Guardiola. He's going to continue to push the envelope and do things that people on the outside like us who are analyzing are going to go, what is he even thinking? But he keeps it fresh. And again, he's not too proud to make changes when things don't work out. And he said that, even after the game.
Yeah, and I think as well, the fact that they've lost João Cancelo, they're going to have to try more things to be able to replace that creativity at fullback. Now, Arsenal, it gets easier, but it doesn't get too much easier. They got to go away to Aston Villa on Saturday. Do you think they'll bounce back? And ultimately, do you think Arsenal will win the title?
Yeah, two big questions. They have to bounce back. The streak that they're on, having dropped points in the last 3 games, it's just It is. It's a wobble. It's a wobble. It's a young team. They're in the, they're heading towards the title, and that's what we're all going to say, that they have to stop the rot. And so I don't think they can drop points. I think a draw is no good to them. It's a must win in terms of the title chase. I'll be honest, Jay. I think I'm in the minority now. I do believe that Arsenal will win the title. They have a game in hand that will then put them 3 points clear if they win that game against Everton in a couple of weeks. They then have to play City again, and again on the balance of what we saw yesterday, they can win that game. Will they? Who knows? It's impossible to say at this point in time. But they played really well. They played well enough to beat City, created better chances, as I mentioned. So they got to feel good about themselves. But again, when you're a human and you're in that element and you're not playing particularly well, the results aren't going well, you got to have something to snap out of it. And Villa is going to be bright and early on Saturday morning. They're going to have to snap out of it.
Yeah, it's a strange one where, as an Arsenal fan myself, I kind of take heart from the performance in that they really played City, I think, almost to a draw on balance of play and just made those individual mistakes. And the big thing is that I think Thomas Partey is the most important player to Arsenal and their structure, and the fact that he was out, even though Jorginho played fairly well, I think that was key. Last one for you, Tim, getting away from the top two, the top four races is also very interesting, particularly because, Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, teams that were favoured to finish there, they're not there at the moment. Liverpool played Newcastle on the weekend, huge game. Do you think Liverpool righted the ship against Everton, and what do you expect from them against Newcastle?
I think they played an Everton team that, again, has been really low. They have to change their manager recently. It's not been easy for them. But what I would say is, I don't know if that result necessarily turns their season around. I think that they're so far off the pace, if I'm being brutally honest. I look at the Newcastle on 41 points, Liverpool on 32, Chelsea on 31. I don't see how they make up that many, 9 and 10 points respectively to make it into the top four. I think the teams above them in that top four race are playing better. I think Tottenham, I think Newcastle, I think those are the teams that are going to be thereabout. I would be shocked if Liverpool and or Chelsea even compete for a Champions League spot, just because the gap is too big and results. Yeah, it was a good result against Everton, but they haven't been brilliant.
Yeah, and you've also got teams like Brighton who are still lingering in that mix as well, who are playing really well. Well, thanks for taking the time, Tim. Really appreciate it. As an Arsenal fan, I feel like you give me a bit more confidence. I'm glad you're still on the Arsenal horse. It's good to hear. Have you got anything to plug, and can you let people know where to follow you?
Yeah, I'm just, Premier League as always at Tim Howard, GK. That's all things soccer, man. You guys are doing incredible. Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it too. All right. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in the Premier League and college basketball. All right, let's welcome in Mr. Brad Thomas, talk about some best bets for the weekend before we get out of here. Brad, in an adjacent hotel room in Las Vegas. How are you, mate? And what are your best bets for the weekend?
I'm doing pretty good. A little bummed that I'm in Las Vegas and I have to wear a winter coat. Like, who would have thought that would happen? My best bet, let's start with the first one. We're going to do Newcastle versus Liverpool. I was kind of hoping to get a little more confidence from Tim Howard. I'm going to be on Liverpool draw, no bet. It's plus money. It's dropped a little bit since the open, but I still think there's a ton of value on it. If you look at Newcastle, at St. James Park, they're only 6-5, but where have their impressive wins come from? I think they beat a Brentford side. They beat a Chelsea side who, at the time, that looked like a massive result, right? But as the season progresses and we get months down the road, it doesn't become all that impressive. And then Newcastle's going to be without Bruno Guimaraes, who is absolutely the motor for that team. And to add insult to injury for a team that already struggles to score, they might be without Callum Wilson. They might be without the insane player of Miguel Almiron. I think the value's great, way too great for a Liverpool team who at some point will see some positive regression. All the numbers tell us that we should back Liverpool here for the price.
I agree. I think that, they're just getting healthier is the key with Liverpool. They've been so banged up all season. So I like that. I do think that Newcastle, they've only conceded 13 goals all season in 22 games, which is ridiculous. That has to regress a little bit. I'm going to throw a couple of futures at you, Brad. Let me know what you think. I backed these on the tarmac last night at JFK as a taking off to Las Vegas. It was kind of a little kind of stressful situation. I didn't want to hit the air before I got these in, but I backed Brighton to finish in the top 4 at plus 850. Right now they're on 35 points. They're 6 behind Newcastle, but they got a game in hand. I think the fact that they lost Trossard, but they didn't have the mass exodus at the transfer deadline that we thought was possible. So I think that is decent. That is decent value. So that's the main one for me. And then also it's a little sacrilegious because we just had Tim Howard on, obviously, but I feel like Everton to finish bottom at plus 800. I think that they're going to be better under Sean Dyche. It was very impressive against Arsenal, but I just worry about the talent. I worry about the dependence they have on a very few players. And right now they're on 18 points, only 3 points clear of 20th. So I like Everton to finish bottom at plus 800.
Yeah, I absolutely love those. Brighton, the kings of the XG, right? Like they're going to keep coming. De Zerbi's has them playing some really inspired football. Matoma is scoring basically at will. And one thing you know about that Brighton side is they're going to play till the final whistle. Like a lot of their results recently have been the second half overtaking of team. And then Everton, I can't seem to get the Toffees right, but you said it best. It's just a talent differential, especially when you're trying to play that V low block defense that Sean Dyche wants to implement. You have to have football players who are not only physically talented, but mentally talented as well. And no knock on them. They're just not quite there yet.
Yep, I agree. All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks again to Tim Howard for joining. From myself and Brad Thomas, I will see you next week.